Hey there, this is Matthew Jennings, and on this episode of Peachjar Extra Credit, I'm catching up with my friend Jake from Captivate Media, and we are talking about artificial intelligence in videos. Stay tuned. Artificial intelligence and videos. We know video is paramount. We know photos are worth 1,000 words. Videos are even more than that. They're worth entire novels. So really amazing. And with the rise of artificial intelligence, I'm really happy to catch up with Jake from Captivate here and talk about exactly that. And I'm gonna have some questions for you because this is new for me as well. But let's just start off with a little background about yourself, where you're from. Tell me a little bit about Captivate, what y'all are doing.
Yeah, so I started off working in television news. That's what I thought I wanted to do when I grew up.
Okay.
Realized really quickly that's not what I wanted to do when I grew up.
Yeah.
Worked for a couple different school districts in the Twin Cities area for combined about 12 years. And then I just saw a huge need with schools needing better video. Like the videos that I was seeing schools creating were like third grade quality video.
Yes, that happens.
And I knew that I could come in and help do better. So built Captivate. We've been around for about 10 years. We work with schools and organizations who serve schools all across the country, helping create content, video, motion graphics. Sometimes people will send us video just to edit because there's a lot of school communicators who record videos on their phones. Crises happen, stuff comes up, and nothing ever happens. And they just upload that to Google Drive, and we take care of the editing and make things super easy.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Past at least even being able to do that. So if you are watching this and you're one out there, maybe you're a one-stop shop, one-person shop, and you're catching content but struggling to make that final, editing process possible for you, because I know that can be tricky. And when I talk to people about creating videos and doing even just shorts on social media, that's the part they always get hung up on. You can get out there and film in classrooms really easy, but then that whole editing component sometimes is really daunting for people.
It takes way longer than people think, it's obviously a really important piece to actually get the video out there and add a little polish.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Well, thank you very much for spending some time with me this morning. I definitely want to dive into just artificial intelligence, AI, and videos. Just as kind of a quick disclaimer, we are here at the California Public Relations Conference here in the state capital, Sacramento. So it is alive and well. We are in front of one of the conference rooms, so you might see people kind of flowing in and out of what we're doing, which is totally cool. So don't, if you hear noises or even if people come up and talk to us, just lean into it. It's all organic right now. All right, and I'm sure Jake is terrified because I'm literally filming this with an iPhone and a couple of lapel mics, so he's probably already scared, but that's all right. So let's talk a little bit about AI and videos. You kind of mentioned it to me, and I was extremely intrigued about that. I know there's one district here in California going through a bit of a crisis because of how AI is being leveraged to harm students, which is just terrible. Yeah. But there's also some great things about AI. So I give you the floor.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of change that we're seeing in video and AI right now, it's moving a lot faster than I expected. So obviously last year, ChatGPT kind of became on the mainstream for most people to be able to start using. And it's a great tool, I think, especially if you want to start scripting something. Yeah. It's not going to give you a script that you're going to be able to use verbatim. I mean, you're going to want to use it for inspiration, kind of see some different ideas, different approaches, and being able to meld that to what you think is going to work for your audience, your community, your staff, your parents, and people that are watching the video, because ChatGPT doesn't know that. You do, and that's the piece where as a professional, you need to come in, be able to move things around, change things up a little bit. But sometimes, I mean, you're looking at a blank page, you're like, I've done this video for the last 5 years. I need something creative. I need a different approach on how to go about creating this video, and ChatGPT is a great place to start for that.
Yeah, ChatGPT, just that whole thing, Google's got its own too. Really incredible ways to, especially as school communicators, right? You're dealing with crisis, and I'm telling some people that are new to the field, go in there and start using it to script up things in advance, shelter in place or brief lockdown or, a rainy day schedules, stuff like that, so that you have some of that work done on the front end. And ChatGPT has been really great for that. I heard a keynote in St. Louis last year at CGCS who put it really well too, because some of the people that are new to the field, I hear, is AI going to take over our jobs? And the truth is, no, it's not going to replace us, but you will be replaced by the person that knows how to use AI if you don't know it. So yeah, I totally agree. The ChatGPT functionality is really incredible, and using it to write scripts, I've done that.
Yep.
It's awesome, but you are going to have to put your voice into it.
For sure. And ChatGPT, obviously, is a good start, but there's so many other tools out there right now. Editing programs like Adobe Premiere and DaVinci Resolve will transcribe your interviews. So before editing, editing an interview, you've got to put it on a timeline and make all sorts of cuts and move things around. Now it will transcribe text, and you can highlight that text and then be able to edit that way. I mean, just like a text editor in Microsoft Word, you can now edit videos just by looking at the text, which is a huge time saver. And I think you're able to really move things around and maybe even be more succinct than you were before, because you're able to visually see what it is that you're editing rather than just listening and editing things together that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ooh, I like that a lot. So what are some of the things that you're seeing come out of it that like kind of cautionary tales, or some things that is there anything that people need to worry about, or some moral considerations, ethical considerations? What are some of those areas?
Yeah, for sure. There's software out there right now that will clone voices. So I could take your voice here from the video, put it into a program, and then be able to type in basically whatever I wanted you to say, Matthew, which is it's really scary.
It's really scary. Can be really funny.
Yeah, it could be.
Can be used very inappropriately. Wow.
But there are pieces, I mean, let's say we're doing a video about a referendum, and your superintendent misspoke and gives the wrong dollar amount that you're going out, the tax impact that might be impacting homeowners in your community. Instead of having them come back out, you could go in, clone their voice, and then put the correct information in there. Wow. It's a slippery slope, though.
Yeah.
And you probably want to get permission from your superintendent and others before just going in there and manipulating voices, because you also don't want people in your community thinking that, if there was an inaccuracy, it can come back on you as a video editor and be like, superintendent's like, well, I didn't really say that. And they were right. They didn't say it. You had them say that. Yeah. So that's certainly an ethical consideration to think about, even though that technology is there to be able to do that with.
Wow. Okay. Well, I really love the idea about even editing around that transcription, which is kind of neat. Can you tell me a little bit more about what programs would you be working in for that kind of? Is that an Adobe functionality?
Yeah, Adobe Premiere, which a lot of people use with the Adobe Creative Suite, does that built in. DaVinci Resolve is another program that's sort of an up-and-coming program that a lot of people are using for video editing that's relatively inexpensive as well.
Yeah.
There's other programs too, some lower-cost ones. There's a program called Descript, which is really neat, and a lot of people use that for podcasts, for editing. A cool thing with Descript too is it takes out filler words. I'm notorious for saying and a lot, and that will take all of those filler words out for you as well, which is kind of a neat feature.
So can you tell me a little bit, like, let's say I'm stuck and I'm going, how does it catch the video up so there's not a pause in the video?
Yeah, I mean, it can look a little jump cutty sometimes as it's putting things together. It will do its best to try and smooth out the transitions. There is something though. I mean, I've used it a few times. Okay. It can sound too canned because there is something about
being human,
just being real. Yeah. And people do have pauses and do say and things like that, and it can come across as maybe not as authentic or just too canned and not real when you make it sound too good. Sort of like perfect. A stock photo. Like many times you can look at a stock photo and you notice by the lighting and the way people are posed that this is not real.
This is not real. Yeah.
This did not take place in our district because it's just a little too pristine.
So speaking of stock photos and artificial intelligence, there's a lot you can do with video as well. Like I can imagine, I haven't dabbled with it much myself, so I can imagine though, like you could change the color of the shirt your superintendent's wearing. Through AI. I mean, it really has incredible.
Yeah, and there's tools out there too where you can type in ChatGPT, OpenAI just put this out. It's not available to the general public yet, but you can type in something that you want to see.
Okay, and it creates it.
It will create that. So if I was in the stock footage business, I'd be a little afraid of my livelihood at this point because
AI is just going to generate I mean, you could, I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, oh yeah, I went in and just did something silly like a monkey riding on the back of an elephant. It's like, I had choices of monkeys riding on the back of elephants, and none of it was real.
Right.
But it was generated very, very well and quickly. So yeah, if I was in the stock photo business, I would be definitely scared about that.
But I think with schools especially, I think there is something about seeing your students, your teachers, your community, and not just, stock type footage or AI type images or photo or videos that aren't real.
That aren't real. And I think Jake, what he's hinting here too as well, and I'll echo that, is that if you are creating video content out there for your school or your district, definitely use your own footage, your own photos, your own videos. And do you ever find that you can be too polished with a video?
For sure. I think over the pandemic we saw that because the way that people were creating videos, it was kind of shoestring type stuff. And
in their kitchen, cooking dinner, making videos.
And you watch any network news program, and all of a sudden they were incorporating Zoom interviews into their broadcast, whereas before they would have never done that.
No.
And so I think the people's appetite for authentic videos, and I think there is something there too. I'll give like a school recruitment video as an example. Okay. If it's too polished and looks too corporate, people, I think, can kind of see right through it. Versus if you've got real teachers, maybe you're using your phone as a camera, and it's just, it comes across a lot more real. And I think that's what a lot of people want. They don't necessarily always want the corporate district office kind of view. We've got these benefits and this and that. And at the end of the day, am I going to like my coworkers? Like, is what's the vibe like in the lunchroom? Can I get along with people? And that's the type of stuff with more authentic type videos. That's awesome. That people can see.
Well, and y'all are doing some really creative stuff too. There was one you did with kids. That I really, really loved. And they, instead of the talking head and it's all the administrators of the district, it was the kids. Man, that video really hit me. That one, I loved that video.
And I think, just along that note, with video content right now, the need to stand out and be memorable, I think, is really important. With AI creating so many videos, like it's flooding people's news feeds even more than before. Okay. And content, especially talking head type content, is really easy to replicate with AI, with an avatar of someone who looks like you, who's speaking. And it's not as good now as I think some people would like it to be, but it's as bad now as it will ever be.
Right.
It will just keep getting better. And having content that is creative, is real, is tailored to your community, that's where us as school communication folks can come in and be able to make sure that we're hitting those notes, that it's not just a bunch of stock stuff. I love that. The AI avatar stuff, if you've got training videos that are really boring and bland, that are just internal, that's a great use to be able to just, have someone go blah, 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 blah. Kind of check it off the box. All right, this is done. We've got this video. And then next year, if something changes, if there's new regulations that are updated, you don't have to get a teleprompter or a green screen and all that stuff together. You just have to go back, edit the text, and update the video, which is really, really simple to do.
That's really cool. All right, so you kind of hinted to something creatively there. That was my next question. Like, creatively, what do you see with AI and videos that's kind of fun and exciting? Anything else?
I think, the time savings that you can have with AI will allow us to be more creative. We can put more time into the creative process because AI's maybe doing some of the other type of work for us. There's certain, before when video transitions were coming out, people were like, oh yeah, let's do the star, and then let's spin things around and that can be distracting. And I believe you want to keep your focus on the message. And I think that's the key here as well, is to focus on the message. And you don't want a lot of bright, shiny objects. You want it to kind of feel, I believe, somewhat natural, and just to make things kind of blend in and look somewhat real. Because if they think your video is fake, I think your messaging and your credibility comes into question there as well.
Yeah, well, that's something that you guys do really, really well, is that authentic kind of real, and it's always really creative and fun, which is great. All right, well, any kind of last, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk through this with me. AI is not going away, and it's basically baked into everything we're doing now. You know, if you're designing flyers in Canva now, AI is part of that process. You know, if you're creating a graduation speech for your superintendent, AI is part of that process. Video editing, AI is part of that process. So it's not going anywhere. It is going to keep getting better and better. It is going to get more prevalent, and it can be leveraged in ways that are good and bad.
For sure.
Is there any last kind of tips? Anybody out there, video-wise, editing-wise, maybe even somebody that's kind of got some trepidation around creating content or editing, you have any kind of tips and tricks to get them started easy? Maybe it's iMovie or whatever that might be.
Yeah, I think it's starting small.
Okay.
And you don't have to be Steven Spielberg and create, this feature, length video. Start with a 10 or 15 second story for social media, and then keep building from there. Start using some apps, start looking at what's out there, and keep building your skills up. So then you can start creating those videos that are maybe 90 seconds or 120 seconds. But I think that sometimes people think video is just this big thing that like, oh, I can't do it, it's so scary. But when you start small, you build that confidence up slowly but surely, you're going to be able to start creating better videos. And I'd also encourage people, to get feedback, because both feedback from people, but then also feedback from the analytics. And what are people watching? And keep feeding them more of what they want. And if there are certain types of videos that aren't getting the engagement that you're looking for, maybe look in a different direction and try something new and different.
That's huge. Yeah, data, and for all of our school communicators out there, you're always following the data. So definitely look into those analytics. And I agree. At Peachjar, we're doing the same. I'm lucky to have a really phenomenal marketing team, and they're always watching the analytics behind things. And then they'll tell me, like, do more of these. You know? That's what really struck a chord this month. And then I've got to do that. It's always, for me, which is fun, it's always the silly, kind of whimsical videos that do the best. I guess going back to that, like, more organic, more real kind of a thing. What about equipment? So you had mentioned phone. Like, is a phone good enough?
Yeah, phone can be good enough. The images that phones capture now are spectacular. You're using one today, and I'm assuming this video is going to look great. The thing that most people forget about, though, is the audio. And as you can see, we're wearing microphones. And when people are starting off, they're really concerned more about the visual piece and the video. But people forget that audio is almost, if not more important than the video, because if they can't hear you, you're not able to communicate your message. So investing in microphones is great. Otherwise, if you don't have a microphone, the closer you are to the camera, the better people are going to be able to hear you. And the zoom on your camera, try not to use that as much. Your microphone does not zoom as you're zooming in, so you want to have that that camera physically close, because that is your microphone to pick up voices. And that natural sound too, that brings people closer to the action. So if you're in a computer lab and kids are typing on a computer, the tapping sound of the keys brings people closer to that, and you want that brings that element of authenticity as well. Because it feels like you're there. And audio is kind of the forgotten part that people have when they're starting off with video. So that would be one tip.
That's a good tip. Zoom with your feet. Make sure you got good, clean audio. And I really like what you just said right there. I kind of want to echo it just to make sure that a point's driven home, Jake, because you said something really important, and that is the ambiance of the room too, and the environment. If you're filming, I remember one student was doing something with pencils, and the graphite on this particular paper was loud. And it was a really cool sound. I got to get in there really, really close, and I had that scratching pencil across the paper as they were drawing hair. And it was just really, really cool. So that's good, and I think that one's often overlooked as well. Typing on the keyboards, that kind of stuff. Robots zooming around, making whizzing noises. Make sure you're capturing some of that too.
And also just, in schools, just being aware of ambient noises as well. Probably not standing in front of the gym or the cafeteria when you're doing an interview, but also HVAC units can be incredibly loud in schools. So you'll develop a new ear, especially if you're editing your own stuff and you start hearing that. The good news, though, is there's a lot of AI tools out there that will pull that out. I saw one this morning, because one of my pain points used to be when I'm editing video, if I had to update something and there's a music track in the background, you couldn't separate the music track from the voice track to be able to re-edit the audio together and just pull the voice out.
So if you were recording something right now, if there was music playing, you're talking about on that same track.
You can pull it out now.
No, you can't.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's always been a thorn in the side, and especially if it's
Yep.
like copyrighted, and you're like, well, that's that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it sounds so good because you could
Wow.
kind of do it before, but it would sound
It's-
really
it- yeah,
robotic
yeah,
and
it was weird.
just bad.
Wow.
But there's a tool out. I'll share it with you.
I
I
wanna
forget
see
the name of
that.
the website. We can maybe put it in the show
Yeah,
notes
we'll
here or
put that
something.
in the description.
But it's powerful.
That is very cool. So again, like some creative, really great uses for AI. Really awesome there. I love that. That was solid gold right there. And then I guess just the cautionary tale of just be really careful and mindful about how you're using it and how you're leveraging the tool itself. Well, Jake, I can't say thank you enough for
bet.
joining me on this. This is awesome. You've been great. Check out Captivate. They are rad, doing really beautiful work, telling really great stories. So if you're having trouble getting out there, getting it done yourself, I know they'll help out. If you're creating content like I do and passing it off to somebody else to edit for you, they'll help out. So we'll link back to this team in the description as well. If you have any questions, be sure to reach out to Jake or myself. Be happy to take those. Hope you like this content, so be sure to like, share, comment, and follow for more. Stay tuned because we got a lot more Peachjar Extra Credit coming at you. All right, see ya.